I'm Vivian McPeak, and this is Hempresent. If you have feedback or would like to suggest a guest or topic for Hempresent, email me at hempresent@gmail.com. Warren Bobrow has been a dishwasher, the owner of the first company to make fresh pasta in South Carolina, a television engineer, and he's worked at Danceteria in New York City. He became a trained chef, which led to a 20-year career in private banking. A cannabis, wine, and travel aficionado, Warren is a former rum judge and craft spirits national brand ambassador. Today, Warren Bobrow works full-time in the cannabis business as an alchemist and journalist, but don't take my word for it. The master mixologist and cocktail whisperer is here with me today. Welcome, Warren, to Cannabis Radio.
Hey, Vivian, it's fantastic to be here. You know, they say I have a great face for radio, so I get a chance to work on that one.
Well, you know, full disclosure, we are both involved in Skunk Magazine, me as managing editor and you as a frequent contributor. But I'm excited to learn more about you, and we have something in common. I also worked as a dishwasher, or purveyor of dish maintenance and cooking utensil hygiene, as we used to call it.
Yeah, you know, in life, I think I've started at the bottom more times than I'd care to admit, but it makes you a little more well-rounded.
Yes, keeps us humble, man, when we reach the top, right? I want to get into your work in the cannabis realm, but first, what is a mixologist and how did you become a master at the craft? What inspired you to pursue a career in alcoholic beverages?
Probably a healthy appreciation for distilled spirits, but on a craft level, as opposed to a 20,000 case a month level. I've always been fascinated by craft spirits, especially craft rum. After a run-in with rum down in the British Virgin Islands in I think it was probably the 1970s, mid-1970s. I fell in love with the product and met some very interesting people. One of them was a guy named Ed Hamilton, who owns a company called Ministry of Rum, and they made me a judge of all things. And, you know, about 10 years later in life, it seems. And that led to a thirst for distilled spirits, something I don't do anymore because I probably pickled myself in the time that I worked in the craft spirits industry. But what's a mixologist? A mixologist is someone who works with flavors. I have a prior life as a chef, as a cook. I trained to be a saucier, so I understand a lot about what flavors go well with with many different ingredients. And it was easy for me, so I had a lot of fun with it and made something of myself with someone who would create craft cocktails. And it led to me becoming pretty much of a raving drunk.
Well, you know, you got to sample the wares, right? I mean, you got to be.
Yeah, you do, and and people always say that the drinks that I make were the best they ever had. So I guess on that note, it allowed me to drink a little more than was humanly possible, and I was a very successful day drinker for quite a few years, adding to 85 pounds of weight gain, which I since lost.
You've published 6 books on mixology and written articles for Saveur Magazine, Voda Magazine, Forbes Magazine, Foods-Dark Rye, Distiller, Beverage Media, DrinkupNY, and many other periodicals. You've also written for SoFAB Magazine at the Southern Food and Beverage Museum, and you've crafted restaurant reviews for New Jersey Monthly. If our listeners were to go and to research all of those articles, what kind of things would they see you writing about?
They would see me writing about cannabis now because I quit drinking in July of 2018. Well, essentially, I quit drinking distilled spirits in July of 2018 while I was down at Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans, which was it seemed like a great place to learn how to drink like a pro, and it seemed like a great place to quit drinking like a pro. But I think it led to a healthy understanding of what the cannabis industry is because. I've been familiar with the plant pretty much since I was 12 years old, and I'm approaching my 61st year. So it's not just every day that you can make a pivot in your life, but this is one based on health. And the things that I'm working on right now equate very clearly to me my passion for treating myself a little nicer, or trying to.
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. The last time I had a drink of alcohol was election night, 2008. And it was probably 10 years before that as well. But you just segue me into my next question. You refer to yourself as a cannabis alchemist working on the periphery of the known and unknown universe between craft spirits and the cannabis industry. You developed the world's first cannabis live resin emulsion libation for sale in the California unregulated marketplace named Klaus. Your Klaus drink, available on the open market, I believe, incorporates THC and is a craft mocktail in the ready-to-drink craft made with live resin THC mocktail market. Just days ago, Klaus made it into Forbes Magazine. So first off, what is the live resin THC mocktail market? In fact, what is a live resin THC mocktail?
Yeah, I wanted to discuss that a little bit. We were initially going to be doing a live resin, and a lot of the marketing that we had done in the initial stages were based on working with, let's see, we were going to use Gelinade, and Gelinade is not available on a wholesale basis anymore. Okay. Connected cannabis, it's just they're only doing retail. They're not doing wholesale. And Gelinade was not available to us. So a lot of our early marketing involves this live resin product.
Got it. So my research is a little outdated.
Yeah, no, it's something we really haven't discussed, because we went with a different strain, and it's a full plant extraction as opposed to a distillate live resin, which people were asking immediately, oh, how do you do your extraction, and is it butane, is it pressure, is it what? You know what, it's none of those things, because it's we're doing a completely different process, and it's based on the whole flower. It's not anything to do with bad things that we shouldn't be working with anyway. And we had health in mind, and we're only 16 calories and less than 0.6 of a gram of sugar, and it's really not it's not a seltzer. So it's not like opening up a can of Pabst and saying, gosh, it doesn't taste like beer, and it's not seltzer either. But that's how people are marketing things these days. So we're not marketing like seltzer, because it's not seltzer, and it's really a ready to drink craft mocktail that just happens to have a very fast acting component, which is the 10 milligrams of THC. I was almost going to say live resin, but no, it's not live resin, not at all. It's it's really very, very unique what we're doing, because what we've achieved was creating a product that's terpene forward. And I would dare you to say that there are not too many products out there on the market that actually taste and smell like cannabis. Some of them smell like fruit punch, other of them smell like honey, other of them smell like herbs and spices, but there are very few, if any, that smell and taste like cannabis, along with the other 3 ingredients that I have. So we're not industrialized like everyone else. We're not using, making 15 or 20 or 30,000 cans either. You make 5,000. So you can use actual bartending ingredients that have been vetted perfectly. I mean, you don't use anything to make a cannabis beverage these days that they haven't checked out both ways from the center line. So there were a lot of setbacks initially in finding the right ingredients that passed all the tests, but we were able to do it in a way that had health in mind.
So just for the record, this is an active cannabis drink, right? You can get a buzz from drinking.
Oh yeah. It's 10 milligrams of the emulsion from a company called Vertosa. It's a THC emulsion. There's no CBD in it. It's not any snake oil, medications that are meant to heal you of all the problems that you've ever imagined in your lifetime, and then some. So it's not like that. It's a recreational product. And it hits in like 5 minutes. I mean, that's the perfect thing. It's 8 ounces. What else can I tell you? On Brand the Can, I say, Klaus makes delicious cannabis-infused beverages with the best ingredients. And that's what I've done.
Where can people find where can people get their hands on cans of Klaus?
This is the most challenging part of my being a CEO of a company, is finding dispensaries that are interested in purchasing for their stores my product. I mean, how many more magazines do I need to get into over the years to be able to say that really it's something that's completely different. It's absolutely delicious, and quite frankly, it's the best drink you've ever had. But I can't always say that. I'm not always available to say that. So what I'm saying is you can go to Soulful in Sebastopol coming up towards the end of February. We're moving into that beautiful dispensary, which reminds me of some of the dispensaries that I've been to in Amsterdam. We're also going to be going to Torrey Holistics down in San Diego. We don't have a firm date yet, but I believe it's close to the end of February as well. Currently, we're at the Vault in Cathedral City, which has a marvelous consumption lounge. So you can purchase a can of Klaus and crack it open, and it's, you know, nicely cool, and you can relax in their chilled atmosphere, and it's a lot of fun. I have no one else.
So what people need
to
do is what people need to do. By the way, you've been getting great coverage, man. I've seen quite a few articles on Klaus. What people really need to do is they need to go into their rec store, aka dispensary, and say, "Hey, man,
they need to ask.
You need to stock this place with some Klaus drinks." Yeah. Right.
Well, that's in a perfect world, that would be something that I would love to have happen, because we have good distributorship all across the state, from top to bottom. I believe we're covering all the way up into Humboldt and all the way down to San Diego. So, I hope that we get into Planet 13. They asked to see our stuff, and that would be really great, because I think there's like 58 registers, and at 58 registers, there's 58 supplies of everything that they sell. So the client or the guest doesn't have to leave where they are to find someone to pay for something. It's really brilliant, and I would love to be in their place, but time will tell.
So we got to go to break here in seconds. But what we really need to do is we need to change the federal law so that you can have national distribution, right?
I can't clone myself at this point as much as I would like to. I mean, I would love to be in New York State. I think that there's probably inklings that we can do something maybe in New York, maybe in Massachusetts. Everyone has their rules, and when you talk about bringing a product to another state, you have to talk also about reformulation, and that's very expensive. So,
but you're going to build up to this, right? Because you're creating a hempire.
I have a very funny story to tell about.
Right, well, I got to go to break. We have to go to break, Warren. So let's do that right. We're on the other side of the break.
Excellent.
All right, we're going to go to a break and come back with our second segment. Don't go anywhere.
Time to roll out for the people that let us Hempresent. Hang loose. We're coming right back.
We're back with Warren Bobrow. Warren, you had a story to tell us, man. What's the deets?
Oh yeah, you're talking about hemp, and the world would have never been invented and discovered as quickly as it was if it wasn't for hemp. And why is that? Because hemp was used to make the ropes that pulled up the sails. Certainly, the technology was in place, in the 1400s to make sails, but to lift the sails up and down took a technology called hemp. So you had to harness that technology and create rope from a plant that probably was smoked alongside tobacco. So it leads me to believe that the early pirates were not smoking tobacco in their pipes because the tobacco would have been too expensive. They probably were smoking hemp or, ditchweed, which was also used to weave rope, which eventually would pull the sails up and allow discovery of the New World.
Well, yeah, and when Columbus came over, on the Santa Maria and all those ships, not only did they have big canisters of hemp seeds, because once they got to where they're going, they needed to grow hemp so they could replace their ropes and sails and stuff like that. But they were also pressing it for oil, and if they got starving, they could eat the hemp seeds and survive. I mean, right. It's hempstery and it's huge. And speaking of hempstery, there's more to the Klaus phenomenon. Your Klaus drink is actually named after or inspired by your 1850s German drinking gnome, Klaus. Is that right?
Yes, yes, that is exactly right.
Tell us more.
Oh my gosh, I've had him since the early 1990s when I had lived in a much different circumstance. But I was starting to travel and write about food as more than just a metaphor, but it was a career for me. And someone who was helping me with my roses at the time, I had a rose garden that I was completely unruly and there was nothing I could do with it. My friend Heather came over and was able to help me with it. And she knew I was getting into the liquor industry, and she just happened to have in her collection of things that she inherited from her father, who was a local doctor here in New Jersey, a collection of German gnomes. And the one that she felt that would complement my new lifestyle was a little German drinking gnome that I named Klaus. And I've traveled all over the world with him. When I worked in the rum business as the master mixologist for a Russian company called Marussia, I was able to make drinks all over the place, rum drinks or whatever type of drinks I wanted to make. And Klaus always came with me. So he's been photographed quite extensively all over the world. He's famous before I was.
Back to the drink, Klaus. You're a mad you're a mad scientist.
A mad scientist, yeah.
And you have been, you have been in your laboratory, your post mixologist life here, figuring out how to make this drink without revealing any confidential proprietary info. What's the process by which to infuse THC into a drinking beverage, and from where do you source your THC? Is it from America?
I'm all about outdoor grown, organic, Northern California, Mendocino, California. I love terroir. Nice. I'm all about, the taste of the place. So that's something that's extremely important to me. And it goes back to my early lessons of watching my then hippie uncle grow weed up on our farm named Valley View in Morristown, New Jersey in the 1960s. So I've been surrounded, and it's certified organic and biodynamic, by the way. So, I've been surrounded by growth and growing for a lot longer than most people have been around, and I just hide my age well. So so the method that I love to use is something that I didn't have when I wrote my book, Cannabis Cocktails, Mocktails, and Tonics. I used a double boiler, and I used my toaster oven, or when I was in a pinch and I had an electric oven, I used the electric oven to decarb, which is totally flawed because the electric oven, as I learned, fluctuates in temperature as much as 50 degrees, giving you completely flawed decarbs. And a toaster oven wasn't much better. And then I realized stuff really stinks when you heat it up. So I was living in an apartment building, and all my neighbors immediately knew my business. So it was a problem. Around that time, I think it was about 2016, I met Chanel Lindsay, who owns the company Arden, and we spoke at South by Southwest on disrupting the cannabis industry essentially, and she did that by creating her all-in-one decarb machine called the Arden, and I took that machine and I used it to infuse craft spirits with THC and make these wildly powerful beverage concoctions. I'm doing one right now with chartreuse, which is the herb liqueur from France that's made up of 130 different botanicals. And the one botanical they don't have is cannabis. But I introduced cannabis into the mix, and I aged the stuff for like 6 months. And it's just, it's incredible. So it's one of those mad scientist things that creates the word alchemy. And it is truly changing straw into gold, because if you can take a spirit which is $50 and turn it into something which has 2,800 milligrams of THC in it, people want to buy that.
So you have, if my research is correct, you have 6 books, I think, that you've written: Apothecary Cocktails, Whiskey Cocktails, Bitters and Shrub Syrup Cocktails, Cannabis Cocktails, the Craft Cocktail Compendium, on and on. Should we look for more books? And I think that you do have one, Cannabis Cocktails, out, right? You plan to write more?
Just the one. Yeah, I was talking to Jamie Evans the other day, who's my good friend, who has Herbacy, which you should take a look at. She's doing a THC infused French rosé wine, which is just brilliant. I love helping her and talking about her stuff. And initially she came to me and asked me if I knew anyone in the publishing business. And I introduced her to my publisher, and she's written 2 books for them so far. And so we were talking about possibly doing a book together. But, writing a book is something you better not have too many other things going on, because the publisher that we work for, Cordo Fairwinds Press, from the moment that they approve it, you literally have 30 days to write the damn book, and it's 160,000 words. And if you can't get it done in 30 days, they don't want you. So, you have to be able to put everything else aside and essentially say, I'm going to be a writer for 30 days and produce 160,000 words and make sure it's ready to be edited without any mistakes, and because they don't have the time to fix your shit. So, you really have to have your chops, and it's not that type of writing is not for everyone. And the other problem with that type of writing is you can't have other things going on, like running a business. So I'm not so ready to jump into writing another book right now. As much as
that's weird.
Oh yeah, it'd be lovely, but
that's weird because I have a book out called Protestable. In fact, I'll get you a copy of it. And I was given 30 days to write that book as well, and it was right before the Seattle Hemp Fest, man. And I was a nightmare to be around during that time. And speaking of editing, let's talk about. We have 1 minute till the next break. Let's talk about your work with Skunk Magazine. What kind of content can Skunk readers expect to enjoy reading your contributions? I'm asking for a lot of friends because I already know.
I am absolutely thrilled to write for Skunk Magazine. I have interviews with people from all different parts of the cannabis industry. I try to focus on flower. I'm writing a little piece right now on Sackville and Company. They are doing 2 different infused with terpene all flower pre-rolls. So I'm doing some tasting notes and being blissfully stoned all day while writing it. It's just the kind of stuff that I can only dream about doing, because I have such a passion for writing, but I don't always have the time to do it in. It's such a pleasure for me to see my work in print, on the internet, and to be able to share it with others and to really do what I love. I can't thank you enough. I mean, it may well be my favorite job, because it's a job that keeps on giving for me. So.
Well, and people, let's give a quick plug. People can go to skunkmagazine.com and peruse your stuff. And there's an author section, and you can just click on Warren's name, Warren Bobrow, and see all of his articles at skunk.com. We're going to take another quick break and come back with our last questions for the cocktail, the Cannabis Cocktail Whisperer. Don't go anywhere.
Time to roll out for the people that let us Hempresent. Hang loose. We're coming right back.
And we are back on Hempresent with the Warrenator, the creator of Klaus. So this has been a fascinating discussion, man. I love everything that you're about, my brother. We still have a few minutes to talk. Is there anything that we haven't covered, or anything you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I really want to just tell you that I try to do things simple, because I've spent a lot of time behind the stick, behind a bar, and Klaus only has 3 ingredients. It's this wonderful extra hot and spicy ginger syrup from Pickett's out in Denver, Colorado. I couldn't have done it without them. And of course, the Le Verger Boiron fruit purees from France. I couldn't have done it without them. That's really it. There's a secret ingredient in there, but it's on the ingredients list. What else do you need to know? It's all good. drinkklaus.com with 2 Ks. Visit us. And our Instagram is also drinkklaus. It's wonderful. Marvelous stuff. John Mammis, a star. Cheers.
So you smoke, Herb, as well?
Oh my God. I have glaucoma, so I have to smoke.
You're the puffinator, right?
But I don't dab because it makes me throw up. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, dab nugget. That's crazy.
That's
So
not
you're down there in the cannabis breadbasket, right? You're based in Northern California, is that right?
Oh my gosh, I'm based in Morristown, New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey now.
Capital of the world. I've always been here. I travel all over though. I'm one of those people that love to travel.
Okay, great, awesome. What strains you smoking these days, man? I mean, are you?
Green Bodie. John is quite a talented grower, and somehow things carrier pigeon their way into my existence. I love the El Bluntos. Their Gasland is wonderful. I've been doing a whole lot of things about Canagars. I love Canagars and Ganjarillos.
You've been writing about Canagars, right? What is a Canagar, real quickly?
A Canagar is I want to make more money so I can go out and buy them myself. They're a collaboration of flavors and of quality of ingredients, and they're meant to get you pretty righteously juiced.
And
I also wanted to say,
cannabis cigars.
They're cannabis cigars, sometimes illegally, I would say. I wouldn't say it's legal. They're wrapped in tobacco. So you can't, the California market doesn't permit that. So there's another market that does permit that.
Well, God
and
forbid
then,
that
of course, the ones that are right. And then, of course, the ones that are permitted come with like a hemp shell on them, and they're really incredible as well.
Well, Warren Bobrow from drinkcloss.com. Thanks so much for being on the show, my brother. It's been a pleasure.
I mean, an honor on my part, really. You're one of my heroes. Worked so hard.
Right back at you, bro. That concludes this installment of Hempresent on Cannabis Radio. When it comes to prohibition, you've got the right not to remain silent. Activism requires a voice. So find your voice and speak up for justice, people, because resistance is fertile. See you next week. Stay strong.
Marijuana. Sweet sativa.
The opinions expressed on this CannabisRadio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast, republication, or retransmission of this program without proper consent is prohibited.